There's so little that the actor can control that you want them to have the knowledge of what they can control, and their books are certainly a good example of that. I think it's important that the actors' books be neat and clean and in a certain order, whatever works, best for them, so that they can find things that they might not have expected to have needed.
Who has a table of contents in your book? So we got 3. And for the folks who don't have a table of contents in your book, do you have tabs?
Yes. I've got classic up-tempo, classic ballad, contemporary up-tempo, country, pop rock, and specialty.
I have most categories covered except for hip hop, because I'm never going in for Hamilton. I think it's good to cover all your bases, because you never know how quickly something will come up where your agent says to you, hey, you have an appointment on Thursday for a country musical. So it's nice to have something at the ready that you're familiar with, yeah.
Another big problem I see with books is disorganization. I want to see a table of contents personally, or at least see an organized book that I can go, okay, this is what I need to hear from them. If it is just a mess, there's no sort of coherent way the book is put together, it wastes time, and I am very sensitive to time with the actor in the room flipping madly through. It stresses them out, it stresses me out when they can't find it. So you have to have something that is an organization that makes sense to you. Whatever you can find quickly and make clear to someone else is really important.
You certainly want the music to be as accessible for the accompanist as possible, so it's double-sided and on glare-free paper, and it's taped well or hard-backed. Because honestly, in a musical audition, the accompanist is like the actor's best friend. You want them to be able to sort of not have to worry about the mechanics of the playing of it, and hope that they'll be able to let that part of it go and get on the same page with the actor, so that they can kind of feel what the actor needs from them as an accompanist, which great accompanists do.
If you're going to sit there and say my book is a mess, guess what? Then you're perceived as somebody who is irresponsible and unprofessional, because you've just brought stuff in that could potentially sing your way out of a job or make yourself look really bad. You need to come in and be as seamless as possible.
Generally, what I do is when I'm going into an audition, it doesn't matter if it's an EPA or an invited call or whatever, I'll put the song that I want to sing first in the book, and then I'll put like 2 or 3 alternative choices just right directly behind it. So nobody ever has to flip more than the 3rd or 4th song.
Fernando, so you have fewer songs.
Yeah, it's
You've only got 5.
So
Yeah. You're like, there's 5 of them.
usually I organize it based on whatever call I'm going for that day. So I'll just rearrange my book, and like you, I'll just organize my top song, and then have my picks, and like, what's the best to worst for that particular situation. I mean, I have plenty of other songs that I've worked through in the past that just don't usually wind up making it here, or have been there at some point, and I get too picky, or I feel it's too similar to something I already have, and so I wind up removing it. My pile of nixed songs is way bigger than what I have in my book, and it's like a constant process that I'm going through.
Do you ever feel like with the 5 songs that there are auditions that you don't go into because you don't have something that they're asking for that audition?
Oh, absolutely. And then that's a hard thing also to kind of battle with yourself. It's like, well, do I focus on these things that I know I have in my wheelhouse naturally, or do I want to stretch a little bit and try for these other shows, which I might be good for, but I have to work a little bit more at? And there are always so many calls, especially during season. You got 10 calls a week at least that you'd be good for, and then another 15 that you might be okay for. And you got to decide which one you want to work on. It's constantly a battle.
My book is not organized at all. But when I get an audition for something, I will put the song that I want to sing for that audition in the front, and I hardly ever have a backup plan.
The goal, I think, is to kind of cut down so that you have your everyday book, and then have a file and have all of your things. Whatever's in your book had better be scanned and had better live in a Dropbox somewhere, so that when you don't have the perfect thing that day, you can go down the hall and print out whatever it is. Because I can't tell you how often people leave their book on the piano, or then, it's the end of the day and, it ends up in the lost and found, and it's your life's work in so many ways. Taking care in the actual physical book, making sure that all of the the music is Xeroxed properly, because you see full bass lines or full chord symbols missing. And again, I work with the greatest accompanists in the world, but there's only so much they can do dependent on what's on the page.